a daily podcast that shines a light on the American justice system and its role in empowering the powerful to take from you. The justice system is the only branch of your government where an individual, rather than the collective, can make the system act for you. It puts power in the individual's hands, but it's broken and being used against you at a time when you need it most.
And welcome to Who Wrote That Up For You. I'm Sonia Ebron, a co-founder at Courtroom 5.
And I'm Deborah Sloan, the other co-founder at Courtroom 5.
Got an exciting show lined up for you today. In a few moments, we will speak with Wanda Singleton. She is the owner of FYI, Private Investigations, operating out of the Metro Atlanta area. And so we will speak with her about some of her expertise and experience in private investigations in just a moment. But before we get there, Deborah, what is on your mind today?
I want to talk about this guy, this attorney in Queens, Jamaica, Queens, New York, who, for years had defended the police on federal charges as an attorney, and was very high up in the ranks of in his department. And one day he got arrested on basically trumped up charges, and he eventually was acquitted. And so now he's suing those same damn cops, uh, and basically the police department that arrested him and the city and all that. But it's just it's almost like, I mean, he was very aggressive in defending these policemen who had police brutality, who had hidden guns on defendants, and had done all these atrocious things. And he was in the why don't we all just get along, he was doing that before he got arrested, was in the why can't we all just get along, and then he got arrested. I wouldn't say he's got his comeuppance. That's not. I mean, he did what he did. In his whatever his job was. He's a lawyer. He does his job. But the thing is, he's an African American male, and it's so much. It's so much. Not karma, but so much. Um, Give me a word for it to describe something that uh, that somebody experiences that they should have experienced before they got the job. You know what I mean? That he's no longer gung ho, for example, with defending policemen. And it's just almost like an example case of what basically African American males probably should not do, defending white cops in federal cases, because I'm not saying they're all guilty, but damn, you know.
You kind of are, okay.
Oh,
It reminds me
okay.
of that old saying, you lie down with dogs, you get up with
The
fleas.
slaves. Hmm.
And so, yeah, karma is real. But yeah, and anyway, I hope he gets his justice
Yeah,
regardless. So
yeah, yeah.
thank you for bringing that up. At Courtroom 5, we believe the courts belong to the people, in particular to the people who use them. And we, the people, are coming to claim our courts. So if you are in court without a lawyer, or you need to sue someone and can't find a lawyer to represent you, get yourself over to courtroom5.com. Try a limited version of our services for free, and we hope to provide some relief for you there. At this time, it's my pleasure to welcome onto the show Wanda Singleton. Wanda's the owner, again, of of FYI, Private Investigations, operating out of the Atlanta metro area. Wanda, welcome to Who Wrote That Up For You. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you inviting me to your forum.
It's such a pleasure. I say somewhat often that I love speaking with private investigators. The backgrounds are so unique, and the expertise. There's so much to be done in private investigators. There's some, who are focusing on, sort of forensics, computer forensics, and searching here and there databases. And then there are others who you find hiding in the bushes with a long camera, right, or whatever. And there's just, it's across the board, the kinds of work that gets done. And there's information to be found in so many different areas. And it's really interesting to speak with private investigators who sort of know what they're doing and have a reputation, and do some really good work. So I'm excited to speak with you today. Let me ask, Wanda, if you would just tell us what your agency does and how you got into private investigations work.
Okay, what I do currently, I've done various fields of investigation, but currently I'm focused on criminal defense. I'm board certified with the Criminal Defense Training Council. It's a nationally recognized certification. It's intense training, and you have to have several comprehensive investigations in your expertise. A very intense training that I acquired that certification in 2018. And I've been doing criminal defense investigation since 2009. It's just where my passion lies. I like uncovering facts and helping others in the sense of making sure that their rights haven't been violated and they get a fair trial through my, under the umbrella of an attorney. Of course, I'm tethered to the attorney, and I act as an agent. And I'm somewhat their eyes and their ears. So when I get out there, based upon what their need is and the theory that they present as far as the case is concerned, my responsibilities normally becomes interviewing witnesses, locating witnesses, like I said, analyzing the crime scene, taking photographs based upon what was said, who was there, where they were positioned, same time of day that the incident occurred, and seeing what's out there that can provide more information, like were there cameras there? Possibility we could get footage, but most cameras rotate and erase primarily. Normally, when I get the case, it's been like a year or so. So, if the prosecution has that evidence, then we get that in discovery. However, like you said, you asked me what all I do. I also do family law. That's what I call it, but it's divorce, child custody. Due to the fact that Georgia is an at-fault state, adultery is considered an asset to someone who wants to leave a relationship, because if their significant partner is actually committing adultery, then they may not have to pay alimony. In child custody, and most of the time that's dealing with who takes care of the child in the best interests of the child. And so if there is an understanding of where the child, who has custody, there may be an allegation from one of the partners in that relationship that's stating that the person is maybe not taking care of the child the way they should. They're being neglected, or maybe abused, or that they're not actually spending time with the child. So then that could be brought up in court to possibly lessen child support, or who will where the child should actually live to be for its best interest. I do all sorts of surveillance. Surveillance itself is an art. Um, Surveillance, I've done workers' comp surveillance. I've done, like I said, child custody, parental fitness. Um, and I've also done, work in regards to alienation. Um, and, because that's developed within the last 13 years. Also, I do service a process, and I've done that. I've been in business since 1997. I acquired my uh, first PI license in California, um, and my second license is when I moved to Georgia in 2017. As soon as I got here, I just applied and took the test, and I was up and running.
So
My
let me.
background consists of law enforcement, and I was a correctional officer at San Quentin Penitentiary for 10 years. That's where I got my foundation of legal training, criminal law, constitutional law. Um, I know that, people here, well, I worked in a prison, but I was actually a certified peace officer. We were sworn in. Um, so, yes, that's where I got my foundation. And like I said, constitutional law, arrest procedures, civil rights law, rules of evidence, use of force, report writing, emergency operations, booking. I worked in our receiving and release for at least 3 years, and we were responsible for fingerprinting. All the inmates that came in from the county came into receiving and release. So we would have to classify them, book them, take pictures. So I learned a lot about those procedures, first aid, restraint techniques, of course, and ethics, and the comprehensive training in prison gangs and that culture.
Mm,
Great
yeah,
deal of that. As an officer, we were responsible for incidents, and they were countless at San Quentin. There were always shots being fired and interviews needing to be done to find out, what happened in the incident, and implement many of the, the rules of the institution for a referral to the DA. So
that is really.
I learned a lot about guns. I never held a gun before in my life before I got there. So I was trained with the Mini 14, um, the 38, and the shotgun. So that was the basis. And then after working there for 10 years, I decided there's got to be something more. So I became, I found out about, investigations, and that I went to school for training and subsequently got my license because I had the criteria that was needed, over 6,000 hours of law enforcement experience to take the test. So California had an 80% failure rate exam, and I think it was like 162 questions, and it was a 2-hour exam, and I passed on the first try. So I was kind of proud of myself. And then, I started with a friend's attorney, someone that I had known a long time. She was a paralegal when I first met her, and she got her law degree, and I started with her. And then, I started building a large clientele throughout the years before I moved here. And I learned a lot, and I've shown, even at San Quentin, I've shown, my diligent efforts to do the best I can in everything that I do. I received the Warden's Recognition Award, which is very rare, and it was for saving lives. We had a fire in one of the sections, the housing units, and because they had these blankets that if they catch fire, they had kick off a fume that is equivalent to the death chamber gas, the gas chamber. And so we evacuated that unit within 15 minutes of, and it was 500 inmates. So we saved them from a lawsuit. And then there were other things that I had done as well. There was a stabbing in the institution. A sergeant was killed, and then they were planning on stabbing another sergeant who was my sergeant at the time, and there was this bunk leg missing. And the security squad team went in. We locked everyone down for 6 months. 6 months after that sergeant got killed. And so what happened was I ended up finding the bunk leg, even though the crew had went through. So I'm just saying that just to say that no matter what I get into, I put 100% into it. So then I built FYI research investigations, and I initially started in Solano County in California, and then went from there to Oakland, California, because there was more money out there. So there was more attorneys. And so from there, I worked and I built up a clientele, as I said, and I was able to continuously grow, and I was able to show, my skills. I was given opportunities because it had been kind of rough in the field that I chose, is because there was predominantly white male, and I got a lot of resistance, but I didn't allow it to affect me. I became the district governor for the California Department of the California Association of Investigators. So I became responsible for getting professionals to come in for continued learning education. So I was responsible for finding the person, subject matter that they were expertise in, for training for all of us. So it was like 128 investigators that I was responsible for. And under my leadership, we grew in number, and the attendance grew, because I was specific about who I wanted there, because I've been a member for a long time, and every time we had someone there, they just was selling their book, or they were selling their own services. So I made them become more detailed so that we could learn and possibly get a certificate,
Yeah.
So
Let me ask you, Wanda, about your experience in Atlanta. I think your focus has been, and your reputation is probably built on your work with criminal defense attorneys and helping people stand up against some of the prosecutions there. Love to hear more about just your experience and the sorts of things you look to do when attorneys come to you to help in defending a criminal defendant.
What do they look for? Is that what's the point?
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
And as far as
what are they looking to prove, or what are they looking to get done with a private investigator?
When I meet with an attorney in criminal defense, they have a theory of why everything played out. There are several defenses for criminal defense. It could be an alibi. It could be, the person was justifiably defending themselves or someone else. It could be insanity, which is very hard to prove. Or the person could just be innocent, because the prosecution has a responsibility of presenting their case without reasonable doubt, with no reasonable doubt. So, that can be hard if the person isn't guilty. So my responsibility in that is to be unbiased and objective and present a report in documents, document whatever the crime scene, without just to make whatever their discovery is saying, whatever their charges are. It's for me to see if they have any teeth, any strength to it. Is that person, um, the actions of that person, does it fit the elements of the crime? And even if the person has been proven to have committed the crime, there's other mitigating factors that the judge should consider to be more lenient to possibly get a lesser sentence, and that is if that person has suffered any trauma in their lives, if they have any addictions, or that have severely deteriorated their ability to function, to make proper decisions. What was their upbringing like? You go back 3 generations to find out, the status of their family, and if there's something that it has been detrimental to that person's growth that's been passed on to generations, that's effective. If they didn't have safeguards when they went through their influential years, that impacts a human being. And so it is my obligation to. I'm not a mitigation expert, but to lay down the foundation to find, give that information to the experts so that they can, develop it for the possibility of aiding in the judge's decision on the case. So knowing their background, communicating with their family, getting to know their history is important. You want to know if everything played out the way the police said. You want to know that the police followed, their constitutional right. They didn't violate the constitutional rights, but also that they acted in the way they should, as far as their duties as peace officers. Did they give this person the proper treatment? Where when they wrote the report, was it in their words or was it in the person's words that they interviewed? Did they ask all the the important questions? Did they hold back anything? One of the things is, it's very hard in this field, is a challenge, is to be able to talk to the prosecution witnesses and, most importantly, the victim. Now, I've done this for a long time, and you got to have really thick skin. But I can also say that in my experience, that if it's possible, then I can do it, because I have been in the homes of prosecution's witnesses. I mean, I've developed an ability to really, if it can be done, to get the subject to open up, to build a rapport, so that they feel, comfortable. I mean, even with your own clients nowadays, I've seen where, in indigent cases, and one specific case that I had, the young man didn't believe in the justice system in any shape, form, or fashion. And his grandmother was was protecting him. She felt, because whenever I would come to see him at his residence, she would answer the door. It took me 2 days of talking with her in order to get to talk with him, and I was his investigator.
Right.
It took me a while. I mean, I sat there and I talked with her, and she had this TV show she had on every time I came by, Maverick. So, in the second time, after I spent an hour with her, she said, "I trust you." She said, I'm going to have him talk to you. So it's an art to, it's about your sincerity. I mean, people pick up on it. They know whether you care or you're there to, to help them, or you're just there to burn, time. And so, because I am sincere about what I do, and I do care about, my clients, it's not, my motivation is not about money. Um, it's about being productive in society and helping people get to the truth.
Let me ask about indigent criminal defendants briefly, because I know, private investigators, you all have your expenses, you all have to have, you got to eat and house, right? And the rates are significantly higher than most public defenders are able to pay for this kind of talent and skill. What is the state there in Georgia in particular? Of indigent defendants having access to their own investigators.
Well, since I've been here, I've only known of one. Well, I'll just put it this way. I think nationally, most of the funds for those services are diminishing. Um, I know a lot of people are having to pay for private attorneys. They can't afford. I mean, there's no program funding. So I've never. I mean, when I was working in California, it wasn't so much that they were saying that they were broke, but it was being controlled very tightly, the funds. Um, and a lot of investigators stop even, they wanted to remove their names from the list because they compiled a list of investigators. And I think it was like they offered 55 an hour. And in California, that was really low, you know. I mean, because at my peak, I was making like 125 an hour. But I would take those cases because, especially I focused more on the juveniles, but I took whatever case came up within that system. And most of the time it was juveniles, and it was, it was very gratifying to help mothers get their children back. You know.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I really appreciate that. Wanda, I will just want to share with our viewers your website. This is FYI Research and Investigations, or Private Investigations, at FYIPrivateInvestigations.com. For folks in the metro Atlanta area who need expertise, you've got across a wide variety of areas there, but in particular, for criminal defense should definitely seek you out there. Are there other places to find you online?
Not yet. That's where I'm at. I am a member of the Georgia Professional Private Investigators, so you can find me there.
Fantastic,
And
fantastic. It's fantastic and great to hear about your experience and to have you share that with us here. Really appreciate you and your work. We wish you continued success. We'll have you on again. Thank you so much, Wanda, for joining us.
That's great.
Fantastic. That is great. Just good to know that kind of skill is available, at least to folks who can afford it. There's lots of
Yeah.
folks who can, so that is fantastic. Deborah, what is the answer to the last quiz, and what do you have teed up for next?
Okay, the question was, a successful blank can end your case on its merits when no genuine issue of material fact exists. The responses was motion to vacate, or the choices were motion to vacate, notice of appeal, motion for summary judgment, motion to dismiss with prejudice, and of course, It's motion for summary judgment. Every summary judgment case has to is on the has to be on the merits, and there has to be no genuine issue of material fact that exists in order for someone to prevail on a motion for summary judgment. That's why it's kind of hard to get. Okay, and then today's quiz: true or false? A motion to dismiss is an answer to a complaint. True or false? A motion to dismiss is an answer to a complaint. All right, you got a 50-50 chance of winning that one. Okay.
Always enjoy the true or false questions there. So fantastic, fantastic. That's all we have for you today. Everybody, thanks for joining us as usual, and we will see you next time.
Are you feeling beleaguered, angry, or afraid, as if things are spinning out of control and you're powerless to stop them? It's easy to just let things slide and hope they don't get worse. But they often do get worse. The thing is, you're not powerless. Our courts belong to us, and their purpose is to give power to the powerless. Don't let your grievances pile up without redressing them. You can handle this in court. Or, if someone takes you to court, you can take them to school.